Now to growing concerns about the deadly coronavirus officially hitting the U.S. Here's what we know. A Washington state resident fell ill after returning from Wuhan, China.
They're fighting a war here and they're losing. The sheer numbers of people succumbing to the coronavirus is overwhelming every hospital in northern Italy.
Now, Texas is one of the states facing a massive rise in coronavirus cases. It's become the first state in the U.S. to surpass 1 million confirmed coronavirus cases.
Small businesses are a major part of the U.S. economy. Nearly a quarter of them remain closed.
The team I'm announcing today will play a critical role in shaping our plans for action starting on day one of a fast virus economy.
This hospital's ICU is at over 200% capacity, which is why they've had to transform what were offices into ICU rooms. Now,
thank you so much.
Well, the state of Laredo confirms its first official local case of the coronavirus.
But being on the border could be one reason why the coronavirus has hit Laredo in the South Texas region hard.
The city of Laredo and Webb County have confirmed a death related to COVID-19.
Laredo will begin requiring anyone older than 5 to wear some form of mask to cover their nose and mouth beginning tomorrow.
For anyone caught not under quarantine, if they are positive or have not tested negative, there are some consequences.
Laredo's economy is reeling from a triple whammy: the restrictions, the pandemic, and its impact on Mexico's economy as well.
Close to 3,000 vaccine doses are expected to be sent to Laredo as early as December 14th. However, this will depend on FDA approval.
The world has changed. We used to go without worry to work, for school, for get-togethers, to see family. Everything we once did and took for granted gone. COVID has plagued us, taking family and friends from us. People lost their jobs, businesses closed, stores emptied, curfews established. The world has changed, and with it, the times.
Yes, during the conversation, Doug of Walmart said that they're buying more than they buy at Christmas. Relax. We're doing great.
As the first death due to COVID was reported, people began to notice. Right after the first death, people questioned whether to stay home or to go out, not realizing how bad it was going to affect the world. People continued with their usual routines, with more cases announced, along with deaths. The city started to acknowledge the severity of the situation, which made the community act irrational. As things escalated quickly, locals began to rush into businesses, buying and hoarding essentials, products, majority of the things they didn't need. The majority of the gas stations were empty. Some started to resell the products more than their retail value. It was so absurd that the local government getting involved and even getting on social media to take down online vending of products and issuing citations. As Laredo became the #1 import and export in trade as of 2019, businesses had been growing until COVID struck. From cross-border trade with Mexico to oil and gas exports, the closure of international bridges has had an immense economic impact in Laredo. One huge contributor to Laredo's economy is the Mall del Norte, which has recently filed for bankruptcy, regarding multiple tenants having to close their doors due to the pandemic. A popular location at the local mall was the Cinemark, which remains open but not as appealing as it once was. still having showings but not enough customers to stay operating. Its future remains uncertain. The outlet shops of Laredo, another shopping complex, have been struggling to stay operating as few retail stores close, leaving the complex have abandoned. The local Sames Auto Arena, which hosts multiple shows, concerts, and exhibits, has been closed ever since the pandemic started. As for the events happening at the location, everything has been postponed or canceled for the time being. The city also throws the Washington birthday celebration, where multiple events take place but were called off as well. Laredo's economy has had a massive impact on the United States economy due to the fact the country relies on the city's import and export. Laredo plays a huge factor not only to the citizens, but the entire country. While being around people became more threatening, school campuses also decided to close their doors. Sports seasons, proms, school activities, graduations, everything a student dreamt of, taken away. Everything canceled as the pandemic became worse. Most of the schools settled to move to online classes, which was a much safer and better way for students to keep receiving education. Most campuses remained operational but for staff only. A small percentage of students were allowed to go back to school for testing or other major school assignments. But as of now, online classes are still the number one priority for students during the pandemic.
Whatever happens with the bars being closed. We'll find alternatives. Unfortunately, it does suck that the bars and restaurants are closed, but we'll find ways out for it.
Even though parts of the world are getting hit dramatically by COVID-19, people refuse to cooperate with the local authorities. Though the city began to issue fines, people still refuse to listen, to host parties, social gatherings, and going out to busy places. Despite the city's best efforts to slow and neutralize the spread, our city failed to enforce restrictions, as few well-liked locations remain open, like bars, clubs, gyms, all of which have led to more cases and a higher death toll. Since the pandemic, domestic violence cases have risen in Laredo. One case that had the most impact was the murder of Gracie Espinosa. When a morning jogger found her, she was laying down, covered with a jacket. At the time of her death, she was only 19 years old and 2 months pregnant. After the case was published, no one had an idea of what occurred. Supposedly, the mother of the victim knows who the killer might be.
Despite her grief, she wants the truth to come out about her daughter's death. My heart knows who did this, but I can't give out names. But I know who did this. She recounts the last day she spent with her daughter and was worried for Gracie hours
local authorities have done nothing nor said anything except a few articles published by local news outlets. The flow of information suggests that an individual closest to Gracie is responsible for the crime. Sources claim the perpetrator's father is responsible for the delay of the investigation for status as an ex-police officer. While critical information surfaces throughout social media, it concludes that Joel Chavez III is believed to be responsible for the death of Gracie Espinosa.